Welcome to RPTV. I'm Craig Stagner coming to you from the Rad Auto Lift studio in Nixon, Missouri. It is Sunday, March 24th, and a lot of the racing action has finally gotten started over around the Ozarks. However, the rain has done its very best to try to hold that off, and in some cases it has. I hope that you've kept track of all the races going on and who's open and who's not. At the top of our page, as you hopefully know, we keep the race schedule ahead posted there, presented by All Parts Auto Salvage, and the time that it was most recently updated at the very top, so you know how recent that information is. Of course, you need to check their page for the final word for whatever track you're particularly headed to, but we do try to keep that as updated as possible so you know about rainouts and who's raining and who isn't around the Ozarks. And unfortunately, a lot got rained out yesterday and today. However, some things did get done around the area, like Boot Hill Speedway, a bit out of the way. However, Greenwood, Louisiana, a lot of the local racers made the trip down to Louisiana area. Friday night, Tony Jackson with the win in the Comp Cam Super Dirt Series. Second place goes to Billy Moyer. Third, Jesse Stovall, so a good Ozarks representation there. Saturday night, Billy Moyer comes back after a second place on Friday night and takes the Saturday night win, so a big weekend for Billy Moyer. BJ Robinson with second, Jesse Stovall with another third place. Tony Jackson finishes fourth. Billy Moyer Jr. finishes 11th, and Scott Krigler 13th. So pretty good weekend for the Ozarks racers, dirt track racers who made the trip down to Greenwood, Louisiana to Boot Hill Speedway. I do know there were some other races, some racers like Ryan Gilmore that made a trip out, different tracks, different places that they raced at. We do get as many of those posted as we can, so hopefully we got the race that you were interested in. If we didn't and you have access to that information, please be sure and share that with us so we can spread the word. Also, wrecks were a big problem this weekend. This seemed to be the theme of the weekend. Drag strip, we started off in Dunn, North Carolina with what was called one of the winningest bracket cars in drag race bracket history, totally destroyed. Not sure what happened, just saw the aftermath photos, but what I understood was that the driver was okay in that, so a big wreck on the drag strip. Circle track, Humboldt, Kansas had a big wreck Friday night involving Terry Phillips and another driver, and then last night had another big wreck. All those drivers shook up, a lot of cars torn up, but the cars are replaceable, and the drivers, I think, were for the most part okay. Hagerstown, Maryland, a big wreck last night. Now, I reached out to one of my close friends, Jeff Cowden, who does some racing, and so does his son, Josh, and asked him kind of what that was about, why there were so many wrecks this opening weekend. And as Jeff said, just get guys that are amped up, been raring to go all winter long, and just can't wait to try to be out front. And so, just a little excitement, a little over eagerness, and hopefully things will get calmed down without too many cars being torn up, and certainly hope for no injuries with the drivers. So Hagerstown, Maryland, Humboldt, Kansas, Dunn, North Carolina, all those drivers, we wish you the best and glad that there wasn't any serious injuries. Nitro Arena Cross was back in action in Cookeville, Tennessee. It was originally slated to be the season finale, but I think there was so much interest in the Nitro Arena Cross coming back to Lebanon that 2 weeks from now there will be a race in Lebanon, Missouri at the Cowan Civic Center. So not the final race of the year, however. They were in Cookeville, Tennessee. Friday night, the 450 class. Josh Cartwright with a win. The AMA Monster Energy Supercross broke up into, the 250 class is broke up into East and West. So the first few races of the year was the West class. Then the next few were the East class. Now they're back to the West class. What that does is it gives those East riders an opportunity to race some other races. That being said, Kevin Moranz was able to make it to Cookeville, Tennessee, and he takes a second in the 450 Pro Friday night. Michael Hicks with a third. 250 class, exact same finishing order. Cartwright, Moranz, and Hicks. Friday night also, the newly crowned national champion of the 50cc 4 to 8 air-cooled class, ORP TV girl Tinley McCoy with a win. Then she comes back in the 50cc 7 to 9 senior class. This is a bigger class than she rides sometimes, I believe. With a fourth. Then in the 50cc Open, another fourth. So a first and a pair of fourths for the national champion and Team ORP TV girl Tinley McCoy. Congratulations, Tinley, on a great weekend. Last night, Josh Cartwright comes back and takes the 450 and 250 again. So could have gone much smoother for Josh Cartwright. 4 wins in 4 classes over the weekend. Kevin Moranz with a second. Our buddy Addison Emery with a third in the 450 class. And then in the 250 class, exact same finishing order there too. Cartwright, Moranz, and Emery. Also had a rider from the area in the mini ATV advanced class, Calvin Lamoureux. I hope I'm not getting that name wrong. Made it down and took the first in the mini ATV advanced class. So congratulations to all those riders. Hopefully we'll see a lot of them in Lebanon April 6th for the Nitro Arena Cross at the Cowan Civic Center. And again, that's in 2 weeks from Friday. The AMA Monster Energy Supercross was in action, as we said last night. They're on the West Coast in Seattle. Fortunately, no rain. It's funny, they're known for all the rain, and they didn't have rain. They had really good conditions while we were getting all the rain here. 250 class, we'll start there. That was maybe the easier one. Dylan Ferrandis with a surprise win over Adam Cianciarulo. James Ducatis, a third. 22nd place, last place in the 250 main. He got the whole shot, but Colt Nichols from Oklahoma, I haven't got a chance to check on the status of him. He had what looked to be a pretty good wreck in the main, got the whole shot, and the story of the race last night was the about 50 yards long section of whoops. These are, if you're not familiar with them, they're the little jumps. They're usually knee high. You would think, if you haven't been around motocross, you would think, well, those are the little ones. They are the worst part of motocross. The big jumps is where the riders actually have it the best because they can navigate that. The whoops, if you go too fast, it's a problem. If you go too slow, it's a problem. If you go in between, it can be a problem. They're the toughest part for all the riders. And these last night were the gnarliest whoops I have ever seen. I have never seen so many problems in them. Colt Nichols injured in that. Hopefully he's okay. Shane McElrath, who was, I believe, third in points, but close behind in third going into this, had back spasms and did not race last night. So that dropped him pretty far out of the points for the season. That definitely hurt him. Adam Cianciarulo holds on to first place. He'll keep the red plate, followed by Ferrandis, McElrath. Colt Nichols, even though he had a bad finish in the main, still solidly in fourth place, followed by R.J. Hampshire, who has also had a rough night. Now, the issue that they had in the 250 class last night is if one rider pushes another rider off the track, you cannot advance. You're supposed to get back on the track as quickly as possible without causing a problem. So you had one rider get into another one. He stayed on the inside, and they felt like that he had accelerated too much. Ricky Carmichael was pretty vocal in saying he thought it was a wrong decision because this was in the last chance qualifier and was the final transfer spot. Well, by penalizing that rider for going too fast off the track, he did not make the main, and the other rider did. So that was unfortunate for that rider. He gets forced off the track, tries to do the right thing, doesn't advance to the main. The reason I tell you that is because in the 450 class, Marvin Muskin, coming off of his first win of the year last week, takes the win here. Had another rider, Dean Wilson, with a hole shot and dropped back quite a bit, but he looked really good for the first lap. So your final results there were Marvin Musquin first, Ken Roczen second, Eli Tomac third, points leader Cooper Webb fourth, and Joey Savacci fifth. Chad Reed was also injured, looked pretty severe on his wrist. So in that same whoop section, had another rider in the 250 earlier in the heat where they actually had to stop the race. As a matter of fact, that was the same last chance qualifier. One of the riders looked like he broke his forearm in those same whoops. So there was a lot of casualties in the whoops last night. In the main, if a rider is down, if it's bad enough that they have to stop the race, they'll red flag it. If they're trying to tend to the rider, they'll try to get the rider off the track as quickly as possible without interfering with the flow of the race. If they're trying to get medical personnel and it isn't bad enough to stop the race, they wave a white flag with a red cross on it. And what that means, when you see that, if it's in a section that has jumps, you cannot jump those jumps. You have to roll through them, meaning no matter how many jumps there are, if they're big, they're little, you cannot double them. You have to roll through them. A rider on one of the rhythm sections, not the whoops, one of the rhythm sections, was down. They're waving the white medic flag, and Marvin Musquin doubles right in front of the flagman, then another set of doubles and another set of doubles. And Ken Roczen, who's in second right behind him, backs off, as he should, rolls through. And Ricky Carmichael and Ralph Sheehan were just floored, saying, what did he just do? That's like the ultimate no-no when that happens. So the race, it kept going. There was about 3 minutes left. They finish up. And then they weren't sure. Did Roczen lay back because he felt like that they were going to disqualify Musquin? So the race finishes. They go to the podium. Musquin's all excited. And they show him the video, the announcers, the pit reporter, and he's just looking at it going, I don't know what happened. I saw it, and I just didn't slow down. So about an hour later, this is 1:30 in the morning nearly at this point, they announced that they didn't disqualify him. However, they did dock him 7 points, season championship points, and withheld his winnings. A lot of riders I saw already on Facebook were unhappy that one rider got disqualified for being forced off the track and not getting back on the track, say, in the right manner. Yet in the 450, one of the top guys commits a much bigger violation and doesn't get disqualified. So I'm not sure how that's going to shake out this week with AMA. It definitely was not what they wanted. It was kind of confusing, but Marvin Musquin credited with the win. Cooper Webb maintains that lead. However, what is now a 14-point lead over Marvin Musquin would have been just a 7-point lead. So this was big for Marvin Musquin last night. So Webb, Musquin, Tomac, Roczen, and Blake Baggett are your top 5 in the AMA Supercross. This week was the turn for the Gander Outdoor Truck Series to race with the Monster Energy series without the Xfinity class. So Xfinity has a weekend off, and it's the Truck Series turn for the 2-day weekend. Kyle Busch with a win, again, number 201. I was really amused at how the diversity the people had. Some people were really excited about giving him credit for 200 wins, and other people were very negative about it. So one thing you cannot deny is that he's a great racer, and he certainly brings some excitement and spirit back into racing because of either the people cheering him or hating him, but he's polarizing. So Kyle Busch with the win. Ben Rhodes, Brett Moffitt, and Ross Chastain round out your top 4. Some of the girl racers that we follow, like Natalie Decker, Wasn't available for this race because she is in Spain, I believe it is. This girl's racing like 4 different kinds of vehicles. It's pretty amazing what she's doing, but she was not there for this race. Now, the race is coming up later today. This is from Martinsville, so we'll see. This is the 1,000th start, as they said, for Kyle Busch. Be anxious to see how this race goes today from Martinsville. And here is the ORP TV Race Week Ahead presented by All Parts Auto Salvage, 2600 North Benton. Let us help you fix your car. That's going to do it for this week. For ORP TV, I'm Craig Stagner. We'll see you back here next week.